number 2. He is currently leading the tournament with 4 points after the first day of chess ended at Clutch Chess Champion Showdown in St. Louis. Magnus Carlsen, his opponent, is trailing him by half a point. So this game becomes super important. Gukesh has the black pieces. You can see him calmly adjusting there. One of the things that Gukesh is working on heavily is to get better at shorter formats of the game, that is rapid and blitz, and this is something that he has to get better, as things are definitely moving towards shorter formats in many directions. He is the classical world champion. His classical chess is top notch. There Magnus arrives, one of the best players in all formats of the game. The thing about Magnus is that he's able to seamlessly switch the way he looks at chess in different formats. In classical, he's able to go deep. In rapid and blitz, he's able to move quickly. There you see him replacing some of the pawns with the others. He's ready for a fight. It's 10 minutes plus 5 seconds increment. 2 points for the winner here. A handshake. And this, dear friends, is the Duolingo recap of the round. Duolingo is an app where you can learn many languages. But now, do you know they have introduced chess as well? Well, it's your chance to use this app and get better at chess as well. Magnus opens the game with knight to f3. Pawn comes up to d5, g3 played, and pawn to c6. Gukesh going for the solid Slav setup, bishop to g2. The bishop comes out to g4 here, and Magnus pushes his pawn to c4. Now e6 played, and he takes. Now notice, if you take back with the c pawn, a check and you lose the bishop. If you take back with the e pawn, there could be potentially knight jumps. So Gukesh gives up this bishop here on f3 and then takes back with the c pawn. Yes, white now has the bishop pair, but in return, what Gukesh has is very quick development. Look at his knights coming out quickly, his pawn structure being rock solid, his bishop coming out, a good bishop here. So yes, for the missing bishop pair, it's a good position that black has. But when it comes to Magnus Carlsen, these are the positions that he enjoys playing. You know, he loves positions where there's something to grind. There's not much of tactics that are happening. You can see here, he loves this. And this is the thing about Magnus and facing him. You have to be very careful. Knight e8. I love this maneuver by Gukesh. He's going with his knight to d6, where it controls both e4 and c4 squares. Knight comes into d6. And now bishop e1, just putting the bishop away. And then later on, this bishop can become handy on this diagonal. Queen d7 played, and queen d1. This is what Magnus loves to do. These little moves that he's playing to just keep grinding here. f5. Gukesh goes for this move. Yes, he weakens the e5 square, but the white knight is far away from it. Bishop e2 played. And he goes knight to e4, jumping in to the center of the board. Knight to a4 played here by Magnus. By the way, this position had been played before. Knight e4 was played in that one game, but now knight a4 is a new move. Gukesh goes bishop d6. The black knight is pushed away with f3. The position is around equal here, but thing is, when you're facing Magnus, it's always a little bit stressful, these positions. Knight c5 played. Do you want to give up your bishop here? Which is a fine idea, but Gukesh keeps the bishop. He goes queen e7, and now knight comes to d3. Now the knight has been somehow magically maneuvered to look at this square. Rook c7 by Gukesh. And b4, very interesting. You can't take this pawn because I'll take on c7 first and then b4 would hang. So rook c8 played. Gukesh could have started kingside play, but he's going for queenside, like sort of some kind of more solid approach. b5 played here. pushing the knight away from the c6 square. The knight goes back to d8. And now rook takes c7 taken, rook takes c7 by Gukesh, and Magnus maybe a4 to gain more space. What is interesting to note is that the position is still even, but if you look at just this sense of what's happening, it could very well feel like Magnus is the one who's pushing a5. He's toying with the idea of pushing b6. I love Gukesh's move g5 here. It's an excellent move. You're trying to play g4 at some point, a6 played by Magnus, and maybe you should respond with b6. Yes, keeping everything closed. And now h5 g4 is what Black wants to do. Rook c1 trying to trade, and e5. What a poor, well, that's a poor move by Gukesh. He should have just played h5 g4, this idea, but with e5 he has weakened the f5 pawn terribly. d5 pawn is weak. Is this the Magnus effect? You know, you had a completely fine position, but then all of a sudden you make this move and get into a terrible position. Queen takes c7. Gukesh just completely going wrong. D takes e5. Knight takes, and now just take on e5. Gukesh at 4 minutes here. Magnus has 5 minutes 22 seconds. Bishop takes e5. The f5 pawn is a bit soft here. d5 is also weak. He goes bishop d3, putting pressure on f5. And now you can defend with queen d7, but then queen c2, so instantly goes f4, takes. You can push your pawn forward with g4, but also possible is king g2, just simply keeping the structure intact. Yes, Magnus plays it, and you can bank on Magnus to convert these better positions. King g7, can Gukesh wriggle out of this now tough mess that he has created? Queen comes to e2, another calm little move, putting pressure on the bishop. Bishop comes to d4, and the bishop wants to sit on the e3 square here. He goes in queen e6, and the hope is to somehow create some lot of pressure. You know, the queen cannot move easily. He goes queen d7, which is a fine move, putting pressure here, and he plays bishop f5, a chance for Gukesh. If he manages to take queen b5, no, he trades queens. He should have taken on b5 here, check. I mean, everything was fine because the bishop protects the knight, but now this endgame is just completely miserable, because you see the bishop is ready to go from here to b8 and simply snatch this pawn. d4 played, and Magnus comes back a little bit safe here, safety first approach. He could have gone bishop d6 there, but bishop c4 stopping d3. Knight comes to d7, now taking control of the b8 square. Bishop comes to d6, and now f takes g3, h takes g3 taken here, and the king moves in. White's position is just so much better thanks to these pawns. f4, the white king is coming in here. Step by step, Magnus is going to just completely take the position to its logical conclusion. King f3, bishop comes to d2, Gukesh down to 15 seconds. Magnus has 2 minutes. Bishop d2. And now he goes bishop d5. Gukesh tries to keep some pressure on the g3 pawn, but bishop c6, now attacking the knight. The king comes here, bishop c7. Everything is tied up. Gukesh comes back to a5 because maybe the threat was at some point to take here and take on b6. He goes f5, you can't take, the knight is hanging. King e7 played. And now king comes up to e4. And you can see d4 is hanging and Gukesh resigns. Look at the position. It's equal material, but white is